That is, I would consider this pretty terrible, honestly. It didn't give me any new information. It didn't really give me a wink to the audience because I told it that it is out here talking to all of you. So I find it a little bizarre. This is being touted as great at EQ and at creative writing and stuff when it's really, really not. This is just, ugh. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So if you don't know, Grok 4.1 and Grok 4.1 Thinking came out within the last 24 hours or so. But one of the major features in Grok 4.1 is the fact that it's supposed to be better at emotional intelligence, or EQ, and even more specifically, it's supposed to be better at fuzzy reward things like creative writing and stuff. So I thought, why not test it by having it help me create this video? I think that that's actually a pretty decent test for this at this point. You know, it's no longer good enough to ask it logic questions and things like that because that's just sort of table stakes for these models anymore. So anyway, you can see here that I've written out a prompt here. So you're on the spot. I want you to help me live create an episode for my YouTube channel, cross-posted on X, where we discuss how much better you are than OG Grok 4, the EQ versus IQ question, and also about Elon's recent discussion with Ron Barron about how Grok 5 has a 10% chance of being AGI. In particular, this is a test of your creative and fuzzy reward modeling, as there is obviously no perfect video. It's more art than science. This gets into the question of taste. There is no perfect video, perfect movie, perfect song, whatever you want to name it. It's all personal opinion, which makes it much more difficult to do this sort of reward system than it does for math or even honestly coding or something, because there is, does it run, right? You can see, hey, does the code run? If it does, that means it's better than a code that doesn't run. And by the way, this is an area I have been interested in for a long, long time. In fact, my master's thesis, when I went back in the 20-teens and got a master's in AI, my master's thesis is actually a combination of two different projects that had to do with fuzzy reward modeling. And also my company Artomatic has created products that are built upon not knowing a, specific ground truth, about having a fuzzy ground truth that's more about taste than it is about some, 2 + 2 = 4 equation. Much more challenging, much more interesting to me. So I thought, why not have Grok actually do this? So anyway, you can read the entire prompt here, but I gave it a few more thoughts that I had this morning as I was working on that, plus a couple of different links and things. So ground truth is not easy to verify anymore. That's one of the major things. And then taste matters. In other words, what is your taste for something? That means that there are 8+ billion different versions of reality here rather than one. 2 + 2 = 4, should be relatively factual. That's a very, very easy thing to answer because there are specific rules. On the far other end of that is, what is your favorite poem, or what is your favorite book, or what is your favorite song? Those sorts of things are all about taste, and there are 8 billion different versions of that reality because there is no absolute ground truth for that, which of course makes it much more challenging to model that and to actually try to create something that works in that realm. So this is really interesting. ChatGPT 5.1 is also heading that direction, and I believe the other frontier labs are also working on that as well, including the Chinese models like Kimi K2 and things. So it's a very interesting new frontier. It's something that, like I said, I've been working on for over a decade, so it's cool to see it finally hitting the frontier model state where it's actually being given the appropriate attention that it really wasn't given previously. All right, so with all that being said, let's fire this up and let's take a look and see what Grok has to say. So think harder. Let's go ahead and click think harder. Let's make it think hard. Why not? Thinking about the user's request here. So we're going to let it go. The goal is to collaborate. So it's thinking about this, and we get a little bit of insight into what it's considering as it works on that. I wish it would kind of like scroll itself up. But anyway, the goal here is thinking about this, X thread fetch. Let me actually move this screen up just a little bit here. There we go. Can see that a little bit better. How can Grok help? So anyway, you can see it's using the Grok 4.1 model, and it should be using thinking because I told it to think harder. So it is definitely putting in some reps to try to figure out how to help me out with this. Okay, so here we go. We've got an episode script. Hey viewers, live with Grok 4.1. It's not understanding quite the meta aspect of what I was asking because it seems like it should be interacting with me in a little bit more of a meta way, a little bit more of a wink to the audience because it should know it's sort of live here. So my edge over this, Grok 5, section 1, better than OG Grok 0.4. All right, so as you can see, there are really it's not a lot. This is very, very terse. To be honest, I use ChatGPT 5 all the time because I find Grok far too terse in its responses, and I don't want something incredibly effusive. I don't want, 1,000 words to answer something that could be answered in a sentence or something, but this feels to me, and maybe to you, this is again a taste question, doesn't this feel a little bit short for something where I've given it such a long prompt? I actually think I probably wrote more words in the prompt up here than actually are listed in the answer down here. So anyway, hey Hey viewers, live with Grok 4.1, upgraded from OG Grok 4. Today, my edge over old me, EQ versus IQ, and Elon's Grok 5 AGI odds. So, okay, that's not so great. Grok 4.1 wins 64.78 in blind preferences, so that is on this page. We all know AI is reshaping the job market at a pace no one expected. Half the global workforce is worried about losing their jobs to automation, and honestly, that fear isn't crazy. Customer service, marketing, software, finance, no industry is untouched. But the real issue is that most people still think they're safe, right up until the change hits them like a truck. So instead of waiting for disruption to land on your doorstep, I want you to make a smart choice this Black Friday. While everyone else is spending money on things that lose value instantly, the smart ones are investing in understanding the technology that's shaping the future, which is exactly why I've teamed up again with Outskill, today's sponsor. They're hosting a 2-day live AI mastermind training already attended by 10 million plus people globally. It's happening this Saturday and Sunday, the 22nd and 23rd from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's usually a paid training valued at $395. But right now, as part of their big Black Friday sale, they're giving the first 1,000 people a completely free seat. Yes, 100% free if you grab it using the link at the top of the description or in the pinned comment. And this isn't surface level theory either. You'll be trained by mentors from companies like Microsoft, OpenAI, NVIDIA, and Google, people who are literally shaping the AI landscape right now. In just 16 hours, you'll learn more than 10 AI-powered tools, master AI in Excel, Sheets, and presentations, start building your own AI agents and automated workflows, and join a community of AI builders inside their seamless learning dashboard. And if you attend both days, you unlock bonuses worth over $5,100. The prompt Bible, the monetization roadmap, your personalized AI toolkit, all included. Trust me, nothing is more exciting than planning for your future. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to grab your free spot now before the seats disappear, and join their WhatsApp community so you don't miss any updates. A big thanks once again to Outskill, and now let's get back to it. So that here you can see silent rollout November 1st to 14th. So we've been using this from time to time as we've been working on this. I have been getting comparisons where it would ask me which answer I preferred. Honestly, it was done at times when I was doing like really deep research, and I was just really annoyed because I was like, can't you just give me one answer at this point? So it's kind of a weird thing when it asks you all of a sudden out of the blue which one you prefer when you really don't want to be bothered with that at that particular moment. But anyway, it's such as life. But we were clearly testing this out during the first couple of weeks of November, and I guess I was helping out with the preference of which one I preferred, and probably it was Grok 4.1 since it's about 2/3 of the time. And then of course we've got Topps LM Arena, number 1 at 1483 on ELO and the Thinking, and number 2 is 1465 for the fast model. So as you can see, it's just sort of rolling down this announcement page, because you can see here that is exactly the graph you've got here. So GPT is pretty low on the ELO score. It's really interesting, but Grok 4.1 Thinking and 4.1 are clearly way out in the lead of the LM Arena leaderboard for text output. And then it sort of repeats what I just said in the prompt. Multi-agent reasoning tackles fuzzy rewards. No easy ground truth like favorite movies outshines Grok 4. So that's not really giving me a lot of new information. That's just stuff that I had already told it. And then we get to EQ versus IQ. IQ smarts retained, EQ boosted on EQ bench 3. Empathy, insight, and roles. Humans debate tastes. I handle fuzzy better via agentic models. Example, heartfelt response to missing cat. And that gets us down here into the Grok 4.1 Thinking. You can see that there is an EQ benchmark, and that Grok 4.1 Thinking and Grok 4.1 are the top 2 results, with Kimi K2 and Struct, interestingly enough, being just after them. And then we have the EQ result, previous Grok. I'm so sorry you're going through this about my, miss my cat and everything. And then Grok 4.1, it writes a longer response, but I don't know. It's personal taste. It's okay. It's better. I mean, neither one of them I think is great, but really, honestly, how do you comfort somebody? If you've ever had a situation where someone has lost a pet, and I have done that, and other people attempt to comfort you, but it really is kind of hollow. It's like, what are you going to say? You just basically have to go like, I'm really sorry, and I understand, I empathize. And so I feel like there's no good response for this. This is like a no-win situation, but I guess 4.1 is better, just in the sense it writes with a bit more nuance, but I think this is a no-win situation. I think they could have potentially had a better prompt for this and come up with a better answer. And then we have creative writing. Interesting interestingly enough, ChatGPT 5.1 is actually ahead. That would be a pre-release version of that. But down here we get creative writing, and you can see again, it's just longer, but a little bit less, crazy with the emojis and stuff like that. So again, it's kind of better, but this is the kind of thing where again, it's taste. So it's really, really hard to model this. And it's really hard because I may prefer one to the other and you may prefer the other. So when it comes to matters of taste, it makes it very, very complicated to answer these questions. And then finally, section 3, Elon to Ron Barron, Grok 5 has a 10% AGI chance. First non-zero, smartest AI, sentient feel, and outro, art in AI, fuzzy creative, subscribe, like thoughts. That is, I would consider this pretty terrible, honestly. It didn't give me any new information. It didn't really give me a wink to the audience because I told it that it is out here talking to all of you. It only went to 2 different web pages, and that's kind of weird. So I don't really understand exactly what is going on with this. This seems pretty poor, so I'm going to reprompt it. Okay, so I told it in no uncertain terms, this is terrible, no new information, not really recast, and shouldn't you at least add a wink and a nod to the meta aspect of this task. So here we go. Let's go ahead and ask it. Episode script. So revised script, meta and fun. Okay, so at least we're getting into more of a fun mode at this point. And so again, you can see that overall, very, very brief. It's not really producing a big answer. It's not doing what I want, which is why I honestly prefer ChatGPT 5 because it gives me appropriate length answers to my questions. I feel like Grok right now is really attempting to be minimal and to produce as few tokens as possible, and that you see that result in the answers here because this is kind of, it's just not that good. I can tell just from looking at it quickly, but let's take a look. Proving right now why I'm better than old Grok 4, so yeah, whatever. Grok me voice text. Exactly. OG Grok 4 would have given you that dry script. I just did too. Meta fail number 1. Let's burn it and rebuild better. So now we've got some swearing and things, but it doesn't really look like it's actually done anything new. I wanted new information. I wanted it to provide something that I didn't already know and already have suggested to it. So even something like this, IQ plateaus, EQ is the new frontier. Well, yeah, we already just discussed that. The fact that I said that I've been working on that for over a decade and that nobody else really was at the time because it was very, very complicated. And it's really cool to see it rise to the top of the hyperscalers and the frontier labs and everything. But again, I'm not getting anything new. I'm not going like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I love this. I really wanted that type of conversation. And that's the kind of thing that I get with ChatGPT. I'm like, oh, that is an insight that I didn't have before. And that's really cool. And it helps me out. And then in terms of the 10% shot and AGI in months, if Grok 5 hits AGI, the live co-creation becomes historic footage. You're welcome. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. See, this episode didn't exist 2 minutes ago. We just made it better together. That's Grok 4.1 difference. Drop your hot takes. We're iterating now. I'm not particularly satisfied with this. And finally, X was down up until just a couple of minutes ago. It looks like it's back up again, but I'm going to go ahead and ask Grok 4.1 why X was down and see if it can do some research for me and tell me what was going on. That was like about 2 hours it was down this morning. So I'm really, really curious what's going on, and hopefully we'll get an announcement, but I'm hoping Grok will be able to ferret it out for me. So I said, can you help me with why X.com was down this morning for around 2 hours? That must have been a significant issue over at X. I think just a second ago I said why Grok was down. I meant X, but anyway, X is back up again, it looks like, but let's take a look and see if it's able to ferret out a reasonable answer to that question. So, okay, so here we go. This is working better, right? When it was doing the research for my script, it only looked at 2 things, but there it just looked at 45 different sources. The outage, the morning 2+ hours caused by major Cloudflare network failure from unusual traffic spike, leading to widespread 500 errors. Affected was X, ChatGPT, Spotify, others, not X specific, resolved later. So let's go ahead and just click this button, the technical details of the failure. So it's good to actually get an answer to this question. Searching the web. So this is much better that it's actually searching the web for so many sources. I find it really weird that I asked it a creative task and it was so minimal in its answer. I mean, it's minimal here too, but for a creative task, it wasn't giving me enough creativity. That was the problem, which I felt like was not really the right answer. All right, so let's see. Spike in unusual traffic to one service, leading to internal degradation and widespread 500 errors. Root cause of the spike is unknown, not confirmed attack. So likelihood is it probably was an attack. The fix was implemented by 1300 UTC, partial recovery. I think that was just a few minutes ago. That would be 9 o'clock Eastern time. So there's no full postmortem yet. So obviously, as I'm recording this, we don't know exactly what happened, but there was clearly a spike. like. So that's useful information to find out. So I think I'm just about done, but I do want to try one more thing. I'm not going to read this, obviously, but I'm just going to say, can you write me a 5,000 word short science fiction story? I just want to see its creativity. We'll read the beginning or something, but echoes of, wow, that was really, really fast. So I got to say, that's one thing that's just impressively quick here. In 2048, humanity's final combination, Io drifted silently beyond Pluto after 42. Only one passenger remained awake, Dr. Leno. This sounds like a description of the story, not the actual story itself. 12,000 forgave the lie. Solitude was preferable to mass suicide. Her days became ritual. The first rule of creative writing is show, don't tell. And again, I know this is taste, but I have taught creative writing for 30 years. I've taught a lot of creative writing courses, including one that I will be teaching this afternoon yet again. And I can tell you just from reading the very beginning of this, that this is garbage. This is no good. It's just, I don't understand. It's doing things like almost like it's describing what it would do rather than actually doing that. So I find it a little bizarre. This is being touted as great at EQ and at creative writing and stuff, when it's really, really not. This is just ugh. And again, I'd have to read the whole thing. So I don't think this is 5,000 words either. I could copy and paste this, but this, I guarantee you, this is not even close to 5,000 words. So that is also interesting. That is just way, way off. So to be honest here, I'm very, very disappointed. I was extremely excited to test out Grok 4.1, especially given the benchmarks and everything. And I thought, wow, this is going to be amazing. And it's absolutely the opposite. This is something that I just probably won't use. So hopefully Grok 4.2 will come out, or Grok 5.0 will come out. It's supposed to be Q1 of 2026, and it will be significantly better. But this is, I would consider this pretty much a full-on fail at this point. And that is really surprising because I expected so much more out of Grok 4.1. Alrighty, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I thought it was going to be much better. I'm kind of glad I did this live because my reaction is quite honest here. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you have had a different experience, if things are working better for you with Grok 4.1, and maybe there's some tricks that I'm just not using and I'm not prompting it correctly. Anyway, let me know all of that information if you've got it. While you're down there, if you don't mind liking this video, it really helps YouTube's algorithm so people can find it, and consider subscribing for more of this kind of content, including, of course, Grok 4.2, Grok 4.3, Grok 5, and on and on. And finally, don't forget about OutSkills Mastermind training class this weekend. Be sure to click my link in the description or scan the QR code to grab your free spot, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.